I can't even describe to you how I was living down here. It was crazy. I started using crack down here. I got myself in all kinds of mess. This is where I've caught my first drug case down here. I started out as a drug seller and ended up as a drug user.
I never thought I'd see the light of day. Piece attempted murder, plus I'm selling gay. How much dope I did, I lost count. All I know is I was smoking gas by the ounce. Tip 40 back till I black out. Hop in the stay, then I mash out.
I've had several rock bottoms. But my rock bottom was I really got tired of being depressed. I got tired of the things that I was telling myself. I got tired of being held back from the story I kept telling myself. This complex that I was in. Right here. Looks a lot better now, but it wasn't the case back then. This was dope, crack. That's how they used to sell their dope. And you would the fiends would go in this front door, and there'd be 2 or 3 people sitting on the steps, and you would get up and you serve them up. And the elevator was right next to them steps. And we was all sitting on the steps that one day, and my man came down that elevator, and we knew what time it was, so we got up and we started walking away. And as soon as that elevator door opened, he cocked that shotgun and blew his chest right out. Blew his chest right out, bro. And we went into our apartments because we knew what time it was. And when the police showed up, the Wayne State police officer rammed his car through the back door, the back of the apartment complex. And there was Detroit police officers right out here in the front. And he was up at that top window just shooting and shooting and shooting out the window at the police officers. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. And he ended up shooting all of his ammo out, and then he turned himself in. He went downstairs, but when he started shooting, everybody went up in their apartments. It was crazy. The craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is where I came from, literally nothing. When I aged out of foster care. This is where I was at, literally nothing. And I used to stand in this line at 6 o'clock, and if you wasn't a part of the number of people that they let into the shelter, then you wasn't getting in. So you had to be down here on time and in line. And so I think that's why these guys are at the door right now, so they can get in line. And remember I was telling you about when I used to have to sleep on the steam grates. And so this is where I came from. So I'm gonna ask these fellas how it go now. What's up, bro? How y'all doing? I came from this, man, so I'm doing a documentary. And we used to have to stand in line at 6 o'clock. And if you wasn't in line, I think they let so many people in, and if you ain't in line, then you wasn't getting in. You know what I'm saying? Do they still do it that way?
I don't know how they really do it. I was working on the door when we got these.
Oh, okay. You don't know how it go?
But I know now.
Well, if you knock on the door, you'll find out they'll let you in.
They let you in even if they got no it's so cold out.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you know, let's see if they'll let us in.
See, like back in the 90s, they only let like 50, 60 people in, and if you wasn't in line, then they wasn't letting you in. My rock bottom came when I got so depressed that I actually wanted to take my own life. And I couldn't see no reason for living, even though I have a son. I couldn't see any reason to live. I couldn't see any reason to move on. I couldn't see what my purpose was in life. I didn't have a vision for myself. And so I ended up I ended up crying out to God about it, and you know, He sent me somebody in my life that really changed my perspective, helped me change my perspective, and actually called me out on myself, actually made me look at myself, made me look at my story, helped me to realize how God saw me. And once I understood that I needed to re-look at my story, and did that, I started seeing how my story was killing me. You know, I started seeing how the lies was killing me.
I met Al at New Beginnings Church in Bay City. And I was getting ready to rehab a house here in Bay City, and he had just started a handyman business, and I needed some help with some plumbing and drywall, which are two things that I cannot do myself. And so he came over, and that's how I met him. Al and I were working on the house one day, and I started to ask him some background questions, and he told me of his life experiences and how his mother had deserted him very young. And as a matter of fact, I make it a practice to informally adopt young people. They're usually between the ages of 20 and 40. Most of them don't have a living parent, or there's some problem in the family. And I told him, I thought it was the Lord's schedule that He told me about wanting a mother, because I said, well, that's easy, I'll just adopt you. And he behaved like I had just handed him $1 million.
There's been a lot of moments where Al believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. And because of that, like, that's my big brother for life, man. Like, that is my big brother for life. And I have never, and I will never question his heart toward people, toward his ministry, toward me. You know, if he does something, it's because his heart is in it, and he's very committed, very committed. So our relationship is a good one, man. It's definitely one of those iron sharpens iron type of deals, and you know, you kind of have to have a good support system. Born at first was a ministry Al was doing at the time, and it was like a festival. And I remember the year I attended, he invited like a bunch of different bands, and one of the rappers that attended was a rapper named Chris, and it was a festival at the time. And then afterwards, so the Born ministry was already going. And then afterwards, when we decided we wanted to do our own project, we just adopted the name Born. So instead of it being a festival, it kind of turned into a group. And we were like, you know, the music manifestation part of that for us, and we just kind of kept it going and carried it.
Mama always told me not to be afraid of those ghosts. I done met a lot of ghosts, and I done been ghosts to a lot of folks. Some I didn't try to, but some of y'all I had to say goodbye to. Some I gave a high five to, and some of y'all I had to just cry through. Some I never understand why, but I just walk away and thank the Most High. Still working on the part of me that's quick to forgive you in a minute when you do me wrong. Still working on the part that'll pray for you even when we both know you did me wrong. In Christ I'm a new man, but I still am who I am. So if I ever get ghost, don't blame yourself, it was probably all in the plan.
I changed my story. It's been in the making for about 3 years now. And you know, it started out as an autobiography, and then it started out as a memoir. And you know, I've changed the book actually a few times. God's given me, you know, different directions. So I changed my story as a book about my experiences in the foster care system, and it's largely a book about my story that I had from coming up in the foster care system, which made up what my belief system was about myself and how I viewed the world around me, and how it affected my transition into society, and how it made my life a living hell in my adulthood. And to the point where I needed to change my story and add myself to it and all the other things that we talked about in this interview, and how changing my story has improved my life, and how changing my story has allowed me to be more successful, how it has really improved my intimate relationships with people, my relationships with my friends, my family, how it's brought me and my biological family closer together, how it's allowed me to help other people in foster care and in their transition. So the book, I get more in detail about some of my experiences in the foster care system and how it relates to transition. So it's really good. Okay. This is like a recovery process. It's a recovery process, and I want to say that even your guy that is 30 years old and hasn't transitioned in his head yet, he can sign up for services as well. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's a recovery process, and it doesn't. I don't know if I like the idea of having an age limit on recovery process from foster care, because that is a lifelong recovery process. River Jordan Inc. is a school of transition that I brought together with a great team of board members. And it's a school of transition. We have mentorship, we have peer advocacy, and we have peer recovery. And so all those things working together makes up River Jordan, and it's a program that links youth that are transitioning from foster care to things in the community. It's also a training program for youth that are transitioning. We're going to be working with juvenile justice youth and young adults, and it's a program of transition. That's all we deal with. We don't deal with any cognitive behavioral kind of stuff. We're just dealing with transition from foster care to independence, and that we try to train youth and get them mentally prepared for that transition, because there's a mentality that you have when you're in foster care and a mentality that you have to have when you transition. So we're trying to help them understand and help them with a new mindset. So when you get out of foster care, you want to have relationships with people. You want to be able to work in an environment with other people and get along with other people. When you transition, you want to see yourself different. You want to pursue an education or vocation training of some sort. So you have to be able to have a different mindset when you go from foster care to society. And so that's what River Jordan is all about, transition. Top off and replace it with one that will match this countertop and the bar top. So I want everything to match. These cabinets can be redone, this here is a half wall. My design was to tear down the walls and make this a half wall. It's going to be like a countertop here. My main focus is to break down the stigmas and labels so they can get out of their situation, which is really what they're in. It's a situation. It's not who they are. It's a situation that they're in. So when they get out of the situation, they don't leave with that muck of stigmas and labels that's on them, okay? So that's what we hope that's the main thing, breaking down the stigmas and the labels.
And I will keep searching for you, God, and I just that you ask of me, and I just wanna run after your heart so freely. I just wanna take a drink of your fountain that never runs dry.
Talk to him. It's been a long time since I've been high, and I don't wanna do it. But lately I've been reminiscing, cause I'm going through it. And while we all being real, let me tell you this. I got 6 years clean, but I'm still sick. Still getting my feelings, and still come up missing. Not always open and honest, but I'm still willing. Been acting out on my obsessions, but I didn't use. I wanna be all you ask, but I can't do it without you. So help me, Father, hear me calling your name out. Cause heaven knows I don't wanna go the same route. When I don't see no end, and they ain't really friends. I look over my shoulder, and there you go again. Yeah, please know that I'm a changed man. And if you knew me, you would know I'm not the same, man. I crucify the flesh daily, I'm in God's hands. I backslid, but now I'm back, Lord, take